Hello and welcome back to another episode of Tiksu to UniTartu. Today I'm joined by Logan. Logan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi. My name's Logan Carmichael. I'm originally from Canada. I was based in New Zealand before I came to Estonia, and I've been based in Tartu for the last a little bit more than 4 years.
Awesome. And we ask this of everybody that comes on, but could you tell us how you ended up in Estonia, how you found out about Estonia, what drew you to the country initially?
Yeah, interesting question, because I get asked this a lot, and I don't have a great answer for it. Somewhere along the way, I found out about Estonia. It was I'm going to say it was probably high school.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, what an interesting place. That when I was studying my bachelor's and then eventually my master's, that my focus came sort of zeroed in on Estonia.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing research on, firstly, like more traditional national security type studies, and then honed in on cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And Estonia was obviously a very interesting place to be looking at that. So yeah, initially when I was studying, I basically seized every opportunity I could to, do schoolwork and projects and writing related to Estonia. And then when studies permitted, my master's thesis was on Estonia. And now my whole PhD has been about Estonia as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you mentioned you just finished your PhD. Could you maybe tell me a little bit more about that and what it was about, what you studied?
Sure. Yeah. So I defended my PhD on the 17th of March. That was a long time coming. It was a bit of a journey.
Yeah.
The overarching topic was cybersecurity and e-governance, but it was looking at effectively what cybersecurity governance structures should look like, what crisis management should look like, when you have a highly digitalized context. And that was using Estonia as a highly digitalized context as my example or my case study.
Well, it's a great place to be for that. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. It was such a cool place to be doing that research. To carry out the research, I spoke with government officials, basically right across the Estonian government.
Yeah.
And the access that I got as a Canadian, it was something really exceptional. It's research that I probably wouldn't have been able to carry out at home. But there were so many folks from right across government that were willing to speak to me, to open up their offices up in Tallinn to me. Yeah, really, really cool opportunities. Yeah.
No, definitely. I think I really appreciate how, available the officials are. Compared to like the big countries we're coming to, that you might have to write a letter to a letter to a letter to a person to, figure something out like that. But that's really interesting. Yeah. So what are you currently working or studying on right now?
So I had a bit of a period of overlap where my study coincided with working full time.
Yeah.
Glad that those days are behind me. I'm now working at Cybernetica, which is an Estonian tech company that built a number of the technologies that are underpinning the Estonian digitalization or e-governance story. So what I'm doing there is working with data exchange technologies. So the Estonian X-Road data exchange platform that basically underpins all of the e-governance provisions in Estonia, working in that department now, exporting those technologies to foreign markets.
Oh, great.
So doing trainings, going actually on site to foreign countries and working with their governments on these tech implementations. Yeah,
that's great. I mean, this is certainly the place to do it. So what I wanted to ask you about also is maybe just a little bit more about your experience studying at the University of Tartu. How has it been, just at the university, and what are doctoral studies like for you?
Yeah, I mean, the whole experience has been really cool on an academic level and a personal level. The academic level, as I mentioned, really cool place to be doing research on sort of IT tech-related fields, whether it's cybersecurity or digitalization or any sort of adjacent fields. It was really the access and the ability to do that research was really cool, really exciting. And the University of Tartu was the place to do it. Yeah. Like when I was looking at coming over to Estonia and the opportunity came up, we had a digitalization-focused research team, and PhD positions opened up right at the exact moment that I was looking. So it was a really perfect opportunity to come and do that.
Yeah, and you'd already kind of done some studies on Estonia, so you're already familiar with the environment.
Exactly. And I'd also spent time in Estonia in 2017 and 2019.
Okay.
I had actually been trying to move to Estonia at the start of 2020.
Really?
And there was that period of about a week in March 2020 when everything shut down, where every internship program and every sort of pathway I'd been exploring shut down in the space of a week. I was in New Zealand at that point, and the borders closed in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And so I decided to stay put there for a little bit longer. And then when the opportunity for the PhD came up, it was just perfect timing, perfect opportunity to kind of keep going with what I'd wanted to do initially in 2020.
Yeah, definitely. I think I have a similar experience, except I was able to get in right before the window. Like they had stopped the visa-free entry even for Americans.
Okay.
And I ended up getting in just right in time to do my bachelor's here.
Lovely.
Yeah. But so I know you sound pretty busy. You sound like you've been working a lot and you've done your doctoral studies. But did you also have that taste of maybe the student life here in Tartu as well? And can you explain to me like a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely a little bit. I think Tartu is so cool in that regard as being a student city.
Yeah.
Things like student days or activities that the university offers were all quite fun. And then I think Tartu as a city is also a great place for getting to be a part of the community. So on top of like student activities, got involved in sport, got involved in music.
Yeah.
And I think all of that together with the studies made it a pretty cool opportunity, made it pretty appealing to stay here as well.
Mm-hmm. Do you think anything's changed about you as a person since you've come to Estonia? Have you really had like a 360 on anything or the way you live your life?
Oh, totally. Like I lived in New Zealand before I was here, so I was definitely spending a lot of time outdoors and adventuring. But I think if it's even possible, I've become a bit more free range, if you will, or even more adventurous being here.
Yeah.
And I think there's a really wonderful accessibility of nature in Estonia.
Absolutely.
And of getting out to experience, nature, but also music, even some sporting events, things like that.
I think stuff's a lot more available for me. It was like if I went to the forest, at least I'm from like outside Chicago, so if I went to the forest there, you'd always hear a car or something like that, and you come out here and it's a little bit, it's more available right outside the city to just hear nothing.
So easy to get out.
Yeah.
I think it took me probably about a year to sort of get adjusted and like clued up on how things worked because I had no idea how the regional buses worked when I first got here.
Yeah.
And of course, back in 2023 would have been my second year here. The regional buses were still free to ride if you just tapped your Tartu transport card on them. They're still pretty cheap now if you ride around on them. But as soon as I discovered that, I was like, well, great, where's the bus going today? I'd grab a half a kilo of cherries from the market and have my snack and take the bus and go see a new beach or a new lake. And I got to see a lot of South Estonia that way.
Yeah, South Estonia is great.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
I really appreciate how connected everything is in terms of like, getting where you want to go around the country. I feel like it wouldn't be that hard for a student to come here for a year and just hit every major city in Estonia.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you've got like public transport accessibility that makes it easy to get around without having to have a car. That was a big difference I've noticed both from Canada and New Zealand to here.
Yeah.
You need a car to get around those places.
In New Zealand as well?
Definitely.
Oh, okay.
Definitely. I was living in central Auckland, which is to a certain extent walkable or has some public transport, but to get out to some of these really quite lovely places, you wouldn't get there on public transport. And so that is one of the blessings of being in Estonia is everything is pretty easy to get to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's a lot of foreign students here in Estonia and that, do their bachelor's, they do their master's, and they're kind of wondering what it's like to do a PhD. They really want to stay here longer. Could you maybe touch on that a little bit more, what it's like to do a PhD here at the University of Tartu?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, a PhD is a big commitment. It's definitely something you want to think about and consider before you make that call. But I mean, for me personally, it was something that was so fun and fulfilling, even though it was certainly stressful at times.
Yeah.
It was just such a cool experience to get to spend those 4 years delving into a topic that I loved.
Yeah.
I didn't actually have doing a PhD on my radar, but I loved the topic. I really, really wanted to delve into cybersecurity governance in Estonia. And so that was what got me into the opportunity in the first place. And I came in with a very clear research idea of what I wanted to spend the next 4 years researching. And I came out of the PhD having completed that research project. Like my topic remained the same. I spent those 4 years doing the research on that topic.
That's pretty impressive. I think a lot of people change it, or at least they go into like 2 weeks before you have to pick a thesis. They're like, I have no idea what they want to do. So that's
definitely. And then the flip side of that is I left the PhD still loving the topic, which I know some people come in and are absolutely sick of it by the end of it. But I think it was such a cool opportunity to get to delve so deeply into a topic that I genuinely really enjoyed, to learn more about it and to actually really enjoy the process.
Awesome. Yeah. So maybe you could tell me a little bit more about the nitty-gritty. I for one, I don't know anything about PhD really. So how was it kind of like functionally working at the University of Tartu? Did you also had a position as like a researcher, and then maybe you could tell me a little bit more?
Yeah, so I was technically both a PhD student or PhD candidate and a junior research fellow. I think that's how most PhD positions function in Estonia now. I think that's changed over the last few years. But the idea was that my PhD was part of a Horizon 2020 European Commission funded research team that had various PhD researchers focusing on different aspects of digitalization. Yeah. So in my case, it was cybersecurity and digitalization. For some of the others, it was internet voting, it was accessibility and digitalization, AI, various topics. But the idea was, because there's sort of two ways to write a PhD thesis. The first is the classic monograph where you write 100,000, 200,000 words, and you have like a large piece of work. And the second is the article-based dissertation, where you effectively publish individual pieces of work addressing the same, working towards the same research question, and then have an umbrella chapter for that. So we were all doing the latter, where basically the research that we were carrying out as part of this research team was also, it was sort of twofold, where it was part of this research project, but also part of each of our individual PhDs. Okay. And so that was basically what I did was carried out my research, published my articles, wrote the umbrella chapter, and then defended my PhD.
How many articles did you end up writing in total?
I had 3 articles.
3 articles. Wow. Jeez. That's a lot.
It was a bit of work. It was a bit of work, but it was very fun along the way.
So maybe a curveball here. I wanted to ask you specifically, maybe a little bit about your work and the topic of just security, cybersecurity in Estonia. You mentioned that you had worked on developing the Smart ID, or your company did, and I wanted to ask you what is the maybe the benefit of having the Smart ID rather than plugging in the card?
Oh, good question.
Little something to preface here is in Estonia, you have your own ID number and you sign into the government systems using either your card or you have a Smart ID. And that's the way you access all, your personal data, medicine, pretty much everything. Yeah.
Yeah. The idea there is effectively, whether you're using the card reader to plug in your card or whether you're authenticating through Smart ID, or there's other authentication methods as well. The idea is at the core of it that you're authenticating that you are who you say you are, that you can access various services that you are authorized to interact with the government on those various provisions, right? So the difference between the different authentication methods probably matters less in the fact that there is authentication there, but the idea was obviously the card reader is the more traditional, longer standing manner of authenticating. The idea with Smart ID is effectively that it's available through a mobile application. That's something quite convenient. Because not everyone has their laptop or a card reader available all the time. So that was the idea there, was that this was a, mobile, accessible manner of authenticating. And, we've seen in the numbers, I won't quote stats off the top of my head, but that there has been quite significant uptake and wide usage of this Smart ID authentication method. Yeah, because
I use the analog method, and I'm a little bit jealous of the people using Smart ID. I need to get that set up. Maybe I want to ask you also, in Estonia, what do you think that they do better than other countries in terms of this, e-governance? And do you think it's really possible to do at such a wide scale in a country, say, as big as Canada or the US?
These are the kinds of questions that we're grappling with at work at the moment. Because it's a big question. Estonia is significantly smaller than a lot of other large governments. We know that. Someone very interestingly pointed out to me at a conference one time when I was presenting about digitalization in Estonia, and cybersecurity as well, that actually Estonia looks like more governments across the world than the Canadian government, the US government, the German government, these large governments do. They may not be national level governments. These may be local governments or state or provincial governments. But there's so much to be learned from the Estonian case. And I think that's quite compelling and interesting. And the second part of that is a lot of these digital provisions have been in place in Estonia for such a long time. Right? Like the X-Road platform that we built at my work, or my colleags built at my work. I was not involved with that.
No, you can say we. Come on.
Don't know if I should claim that. That first came on in 2001. Yeah. So we're talking about 25 years of some of the earlier authentication methods that predated, Smart ID and even the card reader. Those came through Estonian banks in the 90s.
Yeah.
So a lot of these technologies have been in place for decades now. And a lot of other governments around the world can't say the same. Mm-hmm. So it's, to a certain extent, it's okay, what is Estonia doing better, or that makes it this case study, certainly. But it's also what can be learned from that maturity, because most places don't have the benefit of looking at how these digital provisions function over a prolonged period. That's, quite a great privilege to have to look at that extended period. So that was kind of what I argued in the PhD, was there's so much benefit to looking at what Estonia has done over the better part of 3 decades to keep fostering the system in Estonia and to help the system keep growing, because these things are not static. They have to keep adapting with technological changes, but then looking at other governments as well and seeing what could potentially be learned there.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I keep saying it's like the perfect environment, or you keep saying that also. But sorry, I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit about that because I find it super interesting.
Yeah.
But we're going to transition a little bit now. We're going to go to our Estonia Round, is what we've been calling it this season. So my first question for you is, what is something about Estonians that took time for you to understand?
One of the biggest things that I kind of had to adapt to was just communication style. Mm-hmm. I communicate in a very Canadian sort of way, and I think that's just the product of my upbringing. Yeah. I'm very chatty. I talk with my hands. I'm very expressive when I talk. I know that, and it's slightly different from the way that Estonians communicate. Yeah. In just a slightly more subdued, perhaps mellower sort of manner than ways that I'm used to communicating. Yeah. And none of it's a bad thing. Either just communicating really in a really big way versus a more subdued way. None of it is, it's just different. Yeah. And so adapting to how to communicate effectively when you have different communication styles, it took me a little bit to figure out. Yeah. But I think over time and being in quite predominantly Estonian spaces, I think you develop a balance of like, okay, I have the first 22 years of my life shaped by communicating in one particular way, and then the last 4 years of my life shaped in a different way, and you adapt and you figure it out.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of picking up on like the small cues and the smaller communication as well. We're kind of like, I say we're North Americans, we're big, we're loud, and maybe a little bit fake at times.
It takes some processing of just authenticity in communication as well. Yeah,
sometimes to a detriment, but it's nice.
Yeah,
it's nice
you figure it out.
Hear it out is, definitely. So if you were to leave Tartu tomorrow, I know you mentioned you weren't a fan of moving to Tallinn if you had to. What would be something that you would miss?
There'd be so much that I'd miss. Tartu is just so wonderful. There's so many wonderful things in Tartu. The biggest thing would be the sense of community that I've built in Tartu. Tartu is the smallest place I've ever lived. I grew up in Toronto. Mm-hmm. I lived in Auckland. Those are multiple times bigger than not only Tartu, but also Estonia. Yeah. And I think there's something to be said for the relationships you can build with people in a smaller place.
Yeah, definitely.
Through various different things, through sport, through music, through different community events, language learning, and so on and so forth. I would miss that the most. Mm-hmm. But then there's all these other little things I'd miss, because I do love going for a sunset walk by the river, and I love the bridges, and I love Raekoja-Platz, and I skate on the Raekoja-Platz ice skating rink all winter. And
it's really nice.
Yeah, there's just so many wonderful things in Tartu that I'm grateful that I don't have to leave. I'm grateful that I can stick around and keep experiencing. Yeah,
I'm glad you mentioned the community, just because that's something for me is, even if it's not somebody that you've met, you've seen maybe somebody 3 or 4 times. And, if you're ever out, it's kind of does break that ice. I've seen you walking a few times.
You can't go for a walk without seeing people that you know in Tartu. Exactly. It's so wonderful. You give everyone a wave. And
my favorite thing is there's the characters in town, There's the guy with the accordion, there's the guy on the bike with all the bags, there's the guys.
You know those people. Yeah. I should maybe add that I have taken up the accordion since moving to Estonia.
Really?
I have. Yes.
I was going to ask you mentioned music, but Tell me about it. What's it been like?
Yeah, so I grew up in a musical family. My mom was a music teacher. My grandma was a choir director. My grandpa was in choirs. Like, we just loved music. So I played piano growing up, taught myself the violin, played clarinet at school. And the accordion had always been on my list. And I came to Estonia and suddenly there are accordions everywhere. So I was at Seto Kingdom Day, so the celebration for the Seto indigenous group in South Estonia, and ended up chatting to a family that we bumped into there and mentioned very casually that I'd like to learn the accordion. And one of the ladies said, well, I have a music school. I can teach you the accordion. And that's how I got connected to accordion lessons in Tartu.
Oh, wow.
It's been 3 years and haven't looked back.
You might be the accordion lady in town now, that I mentioned.
You never know. I've not taken my accordion to the streets of Tartu, but...
you might, hey, the weather's nice. See. It's time to go busking, huh?
You see what happens this summer.
Yeah, definitely. Another question in our Estonian round is maybe what's some advice you would give to somebody that was just looking to move to Estonia, or they're just arriving? Let's say they got off the plane yesterday.
It's an adjustment period. Be patient with the adjustment period. I look back at what my first days and weeks and even months in Tartu looked like. I didn't have a single word of Estonian when I arrived. And I've learned, and I sometimes forget that I didn't have that when I got here. But even just being at the supermarket, navigating groceries that were listed in Estonian, Latvian, and Lithuanian, and not having a phone that worked yet for a translation function. That's a big one when you get here. Get your phone working.
Yeah, you got it.
It was a bit confronting.
Yeah.
It was, there were moments of like, wow, this has actually been a really big move. This is a really big change in my life. And that can feel scary. But then there comes a moment where that doesn't feel so scary anymore, and you feel that you've adjusted and you feel that you're more comfortable in Tartu. So give that time, because it's not easy right off the bat. It's an adjustment period. And I think you also have to be able to laugh at yourself a little bit for the silly things you do when you're trying to figure out how to exist in a new place. But you figure it out, and suddenly 4 years have gone by and you forget that, this wasn't home in the first place. No,
exactly. I mean, I've lived here a while and I'm still not fluent in Estonian, but I still recognize oh, okay, something spicy. What's it, or, and I've made those mistakes in the past. So it's definitely an adjustment, like you mentioned.
Definitely. Yeah.
Or just seeing the signs,
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
So, one more on the Estonian round. This is the last one for our Estonian round is maybe what's an Estonian habit you've picked up while you've been here? A lot of people have mentioned maybe just being quiet in a space, a public space. But what's something for you?
Yeah, I would definitely say that too. I notice that I have become a little bit more quiet and subdued. I notice it when I go back to Canada.
Yeah.
I notice it certainly that when I'm back in Canadian spaces, even though I am still very talkative and expressive and talk with my hands, that I have come to appreciate the quietness and the authenticity of communication a little bit. And I also think, just more generally, when I go away traveling, I travel quite a bit with work and on my own adventures as well. And I end up in some quite big cities and lots of crowds and lots of people and movement. And I've really come to appreciate the calmness of Estonia and of Tartu when I come back. Yeah, so I think that's certainly something I've picked up.
Every time me and my wife either go to the U.S. or on vacation, we're in a big crowd, we're just huddled around. We're it's so nice being a little bit away from people, even though that sounds not that great. But
yeah, no, I think I find when I'm in crowds now, I'm this is a sensory overload for me.
Absolutely.
I miss the calmness of Tartu.
No, and I like how, people mind their business here. That sounds bad too, but when I go back to the States, sometimes I'll be in a grocery store and people come up and they'll grab my shirt. Where'd you get this shirt? They'll grab me by the collar and I'm like, oh geez.
That kind of stuff doesn't happen here.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So what's next for you? What plans do you have coming up? Where do you see yourself maybe in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now?
Yeah, tricky question. It was a bit of an interesting situation for me because my what's next kind of came a little bit early with the PhD.
Absolutely.
I started working full-time in September. So I had this period from September till March where I was doing both the PhD and full-time work, which was a lot. It's nice to sort of be beyond that now. And so I haven't necessarily made the bigger plans because a role that allows me to use my PhD sort of fell into place a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
So that's been quite nice. I didn't necessarily have to do that post-PhD scramble for work.
Yeah. Did you see yourself maybe having to move outside of Estonia initially for something that would be with your PhD?
I was hoping not, just given the nature of the tech industry here. I was really hoping that there'd be a way to stay. I really didn't want to leave Estonia. Yeah. And I didn't want to leave Tartu either. Yeah. I really love this city and wanted to find a way to make it work. It did look like it would be rather difficult just because the tech sector and the work is bigger in Tallinn. There's just more opportunity there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I thought I was maybe going to have to make the move. And so I'm very, very fortunate that everything fell into place in terms of having work that's related to what I studied, having that opportunity fall into place, that it lined up with the defense of the PhD, and being able to stay in Tartu. Like, it really is just a sort of perfect set of criteria for work. So I'm pretty lucky in that regard. As far as longer term plans, I want to be here. Yeah. That's the plan. I need a little bit more time to get my permanent residency. I haven't been here for long enough just yet. So keep doing what I'm doing and continue doing the work and continue exploring Estonia, adventuring around in my free time. And that's kind of the longer term plan for now.
Awesome. And if you had one thing, you'd want somebody to take away from our conversation today, or maybe your story of coming to Estonia and your PhD, what would you tell them?
Oh, that's a big question.
It sure is.
I mean, honestly, at the core of it, Estonia and Tartu have been better than I could have possibly imagined. I knew I loved Estonia. I knew I loved the topic that I was researching. I knew this was where I wanted to be when I committed to coming here. And I'd spent time in Estonia in 2017 and 2019. I had visited, I only came to Tartu on the 2019 trip, but I'd spent some time here and knew it was a great city.
Yeah.
But I didn't even comprehend the relationship that I would build to the place when I actually got here and got on the ground and actually lived here rather than visiting here. I think everything about getting to build community and getting to access different parts of the culture and getting to do the research that I did, of course, that was the main reason. But all of it just exceeded my expectations beyond what I could have even imagined when I came.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people have that same experience when they come to Tartu. They just, or even Estonia in general, they just don't want to leave.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to that. Yeah.
All right. Well, Logan, thank you so much. It was really nice chatting to you today. Is there anything you want to say to close off here?
I mean, thank you so much for having me. I don't know if there's anything else I should add.
No, I think we covered it all. Thank you so much for coming today and taking the time to chat with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this has been Tiksu to UniTartu. Thank you.